everyone, and welcome back to the Matthew Schreiner podcast. Yesterday, Trent Horn released a video which he discussed the result of asking 50 Catholic apologists what the best argument for the existence of God is. This was in response to a video by a Protestant apologist in which he asked 100 Christian apologists for the best argument for God. This video left me with two ideas, and this is one of them. I want to speak a little about defending the existence of God, and possibly, if you will, convincing people of the existence of God. I will leave Trent's video in a link here on the video. First off, in this respect, the existence of God is something which Catholics and Protestants find in a commonality. Therefore, the action of both Protestants and Catholics to convince people of the existence of God and the salvation offered by Jesus Christ our Lord are to be commended. In the same, the actions of Muslims and Jews to convince people of the existence of God is to be considered well and highly esteemed. This is because I, as well as others, believe that God can use these imperfect truths as stepping stones to lead others on the way of salvation. For example, an atheist can come to know there is one God through Islam or Judaism, and then through study and prayer come to know the Christian truth, either directly to Catholicism or by coming to Protestantism and then eventually to Catholicism, the fullness of truth. This is not to say that all these are truths in and of themselves. When I was taught to make an argument and paper by one of our theology teachers, he told me that you should start off with an assumption. For Catholics and Protestants alike, when discussing theology and our theological differences, we can start with an assumption like God is one and Jesus is Lord. For an assumption that is things we do not have to explain, then we can build up on this. Regardless, what is the best argument for God? Brian Holdsworth recently made a video on Pascal's wager. He related Pascal's wager to Catholicism and Protestantism. However, Pascal's wager was an argument made by Blaise Pascal, and Brian Holdsworth talks about the fact that Pascal's wager may not be found convincing by all people. We must understand the context for which this came from. Pascal's wager was an argument to convince people that a relatively novel heresy present in Pascal's time was to be avoided, and that Catholicism and the God of the Christians was better than lack of belief in God. Many will object to the wager by saying there are many gods, which Trent Horn likes to point out that of these supposed gods, many of them fail to fill the definition of a god, but I digress. However, the existence of many gods was probably foreign to the people of Pascal's time, or rather his place, and it was either between this heresy of the people or Catholicism that he was arguing between. Personally, I like Pascal's wager as an argument for God. Pascal's wager, in short, says that it is better to believe in God than not. If you believe in God and he exists, you have everything to gain. If you believe in God and he doesn't exist, you have nothing to lose. If you believe in God and he exists, you have everything to lose. And if you do not believe in God and he does not exist, then you have everything to lose. Therefore, with belief in God, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And if you do not believe in God, you have everything to lose and nothing to gain. It is important to note we should not look at Catholicism and Christianity as a sort of divine insurance plan. Christianity and Catholicism is not meant to be like this. However, I believe it is better for someone who does not believe in God to believe in God in such a view and grow in their view of God. As I mentioned, it is not impossible for God to use imperfect means to bring people to his ultimate and final truth. In this way, we must understand that Pascal's view in God to be something in which we have much to gain and little to lose. It is not that we will not lose things, but rather that in the end, belief in God is a net gain. Indeed, this refers to the blessedness and bliss of heaven. Indeed, looking at it in this way, we have much to gain in the end of times, especially as compared to that which God can offer us here on earth. I should note Brian Holdsworth used this as an argument that a version of Pascal's wager can be applied to the Catholic faith and Protestantism, i.e., if you become Catholic based on Catholic belief, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. I will explore this in a future video, but if you would like to check this out, I would recommend checking out Brian's video that I will attempt to leave in the description. I think the best arguments for God are the 5 points which Aquinas made. In my freshman year, they taught us Aquinas' 5 points. I will present them here. Number 1, the argument from first mover. Number 2, the argument from universal causation. Number 3, the argument from contingency. Number 4, the argument from degree. And number 5, the argument from final cause or ends, or the teleological argument. Aquinas' points are well used in life by Catholics. As a side note, there are 2 episodes of the television show Young Sheldon, which Sheldon discusses the existence of God. The first is because of a series of unfortunate events, his mom loses faith in God, and the argument which he uses for God is of the forces of the universe, that they are at a certain level that any more or less they could not sustain life. This is a cosmological argument, similar to Aquinas' first and third point, which two are types of cosmological arguments. Many of Aquinas' points relate back to science, that God is a God of the universe, that God is mere being itself. As Trent points out, this is a Catholic idea that he relates in the video about the arguments for the existence of God. This is nothing that he points out is something uniquely Catholic. This is something that he points out is something uniquely Catholic, not necessarily something that other Protestants believe. Let's examine Aquinas' arguments. First, God is the first mover. This is similar to the view of Protestants that God is like to a divine clockmaker, that he sets in motion everything that is. As first mover, he is the first motion, that sets in motion every motion that comes after it. It's hard to explain this one without impeding on the last, though I think I explained both very well. Next, the first is that God is a universal Next is that God is the universal causation. God is the first cause of everything that is. Everything has a cause for which it exists. For example, I exist because of my mom and dad, and they in turn exist because of my grandparents. In turn, they exist because of my great-grandparents, so on and so forth. In the same, my children will exist because of me and my wife, and we exist because of our parents, and they exist because of our grandparents, and they exist because of our great-grandparents, so on and so forth, until it becomes rather cloudy. And then, my children will have children, whose cause is their parents, my children, whose cause was me and my wife, who, in turn, our cause is our parents, and their cause is our grandparents, and their cause is our great-grandparents. I think you get the picture. The next is contingency, which relates again to the last point. This is the point that God is necessary for all creation. He is the thing in which all creation is contingent from. The fourth point of Aquinas is gradation. This argument is that God is the greatest of greatness. He is the highest thing of all degree. Therefore, he is the thing that all things are subject to. The final point is that God is the final cause or end. God is the end to which all things are to achieve. All things receive from him, and he is all that everything is ordered to. Aquinas discusses this in his Summa Theologica in Part 1, Question 2, Article 3. Here is Aquinas' full 5 points as presented in the Summa. The existence of God can be proven in 5 ways. The first and more manifest way is the argument from motion. It is certain and evident to our senses that in the world some things are in motion. Now whatever is in motion is put in motion by another, for nothing can be in motion except it is in potentiality to that towards which it is in motion, whereas a thing moves inasmuch as it is in act. For motion is nothing else than the reduction of something from potentiality to actuality, but nothing can be reduced from potentiality to actuality, except by something in a state of actuality. Thus that which is actually hot, as fire makes wood which is potentially hot to be actually hot, and thereby moves and changes it. Now it is not possible that the same thing should be at once in actuality and potentiality in the same respect, but only in different respects, for what is actually hot cannot simultaneously be potentially hot, but is simultaneously potentially cold. It is therefore impossible that in the same respect and in the same way a thing should be both mover and moved, i.e., that it should move itself. Therefore, whatever is in motion must be put in motion by another. If that by which it is put in motion be itself put in motion, then this also must needs be put in motion by another, and that by another again. But this cannot go on to infinity, because then there will be no first mover, and consequently no other mover, seeing that subsequent movers move only inasmuch as they are put in motion by the first mover, as the staff moves only because it is put in motion by the hand. Therefore it is necessary to arrive at a first mover, but put in motion by no other, and this everyone understands to be God. The second way is from the nature of the efficient cause. In the world of sense, we find there is an order of efficient causes. There is no cause known, neither is it, indeed, possible, in which a thing is found to be the efficient cause of itself, for so it would be prior to itself, which is impossible. Now, in efficient causes, it is not possible to go on to infinity, because in all efficient causes following in order, the first is the cause of the intermediate cause, and the intermediate is the cause of the ultimate cause, whether the intermediate cause be several or only one. Now to take away the cause is to take away the effect. Therefore, if there be no first cause among efficient causes, there will be no ultimate nor any intermediate cause. But But if in efficient causes it is possible to go on to infinity, there will be no first efficient cause. Neither will there be an ultimate effect, nor any intermediate efficient causes, all of which is plainly false. Therefore, it is necessary to admit a first efficient cause to which everyone gives the name of God. The third way is taken from possibility and necessity and runs thus. We find in nature things that are possible to be and not to be, since they are found to be generated and to corrupt, and consequently they are possible to be and not to be. But it is impossible for these always to exist, for that which is possible not to be at some time is not. Therefore, if everything is possible not to be, then at one time there could have been nothing in existence. Now, if this were true, even now there would be nothing in existence, because that which does not exist only begins to exist by something already existing. Therefore, if at one time nothing was in existence, it would be impossible for anything to have begun to exist, and thus even now nothing would be in existence, which is absurd. Therefore, not all beings are merely impossible, but there must exist something the existence of which is necessary. But every necessary thing either has its necessity caused by another or not. Now it is impossible to go on to infinity in necessary things which have their necessity caused by another, as has been already proved in regard to efficient causes. Therefore, we cannot but postulate the existence of some being having of itself its own necessity, and not receiving it from another, but rather causing in others their necessity. This all men speak of as God. The fourth way is taken from the gradation to be found in things. Among beings there are some more and some less good, true, noble, and the like. But more and less are predicated of different things, according as they resemble in their different ways something which is the maximum, as a thing is said to be hotter according as it is more nearly resembles that which is hottest. So that there is something which is truest, something best, something noblest, and consequently something which is utmost being. For those things that are greatest in truth are greatest in being, as it is written, now the maximum in any As it is written, now the maximum in any genus is the cause of all that is in that genus, as fire, which is the maximum heat, is the cause of all hot things. Therefore, there must be something which is all being, is the cause of their being, goodness and every other perfection, and this we call God. The fifth way is taken from the governance of the world. We see that things which lack intelligence, such as natural bodies, act for an end, and this is evident in their acting always or nearly always in the same way so as to obtain their best result. Hence, it is plain that not fortuitously, but Hence, it is plain that not fortuitously, but Hence, it is plain that not fortuitously, but designedly. Hence it is plain that not fortuitously, but designedly, do they achieve their end. Now whatever lacks intelligence cannot move toward an end, unless it be directed by some endowed with intelligence and intelligence. Unless it be directed by some being endowed with knowledge and intelligence, as the arrow is shot to its marker by the archer. Therefore, some intelligent being exists, by whom all natural things are directed to their end, and this being we call God. Now, I will present that entire speech again in Latin. I apologize, my voice is growing a little hoarse because I didn't bring something to drink over here, which was a dumb idea. I should have got something to wet my whistle. I believe that the best proof for God's existence is found in the Summa, in Aquinas' 5 points. Additionally, many use the resurrection of Christ as proof for the existence of God. Some also use miracles, and they also use their own personal encounters with God as proof of God's existence. Some also use miracles, though the better proof of God is Eucharistic miracles, especially in proof of Catholic Eucharistic theology and the Catholic Church. Also, I want to say, Trent's video, I am a little sad he didn't include Dr. Scott Hahn in it, or Dr. Scott Hahn didn't participate. I would be very interested to see what his best proof for God is. Anyways, this is a rather quick-looking discussion of the existence of God and a study on Aquinas' Summa Theologica. God bless, and I will see you next time. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Doing so helps us to spread this Catholic and Christian message to all. Please also consider supporting this channel on Patreon.